So Better Call Saul is back, and we're here for the final season. I'm very excited to see where the story goes, and I was very excited to see this season premiere. We got 2 episodes for a season premiere, and that was just amazing. I had a great time with the episodes. For the most part, everything that was happening made sense. I had a good time. The plot revelations, the twists, everything that was going on with Nacho, with Gus, with Mike, it was all pretty good. I only had a few problems with the episode, and maybe someone can explain to me these problems, but it just felt to me like it was a little bit, a little silly. I'd say a little silly, nothing too crazy, but a little silly to the point where I raised my eyebrow, like, that's kind of odd. Okay, but yeah, spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched the episode, don't watch this video. If you haven't watched episode 1 and 2 of Better Call Saul season 6, so the first problem that I had with the episode was Lalo and Lalo's plan. So, just to backtrack for people who may have forgotten what happened or don't exactly understand where I'm coming from, Lalo is basically a guy who has been marked for death by Gus. Gus sent assassins to kill him, and Nacho has something to do with it. Nacho helped set it up against his will, but helped set it up for Lalo to be killed in the season 5, in the end of season 5. Lalo survives the attack and kills every single assassin. And with the last assassin, he has him radio out to say that the mission was completed, right? And then immediately after that, he leaves and goes, out of his compound and leaves. Now, the next time we see Lalo, he's made it to his neighbor's place, I guess you could say, someone who lives nearby in the compound within walking distance. Now, keep in mind, Lalo is wounded and he's hobbling. So anywhere he's walking to can't be that far away if he did it in a few hours because it's the next day. So he hobbles to this place where there's a guy who looks just like him with a beard. He has the guy shave the beard and kills his wife. And then after the guy shaves the beard, it cuts. And the next time we see the guy, he's burnt to a crisp. And he has the same teeth, dental records as Lalo, because Lalo set it up for him to have the same dental records. Now, how did Lalo get this guy to go all the way back to the compound? I just don't understand how he did that. Either the guy went voluntarily, which makes sense, but why would you go voluntarily after you just killed my wife? That doesn't really make much sense to me. Why did he go voluntarily? But I guess I could let it slide that he went voluntarily. But if he didn't go voluntarily, how did Lalo force this guy to walk all the way back while he's wounded with a knife? That's the only weapon he had was a knife. How could he force this guy to walk all the way back to his compound after he had just got done killing his wife? Or he killed the guy at his neighbor's house and then carried him back to his compound, which is even less likely because then there'd be traces of blood and all type of stuff like that. So for me, I don't know. It just didn't really seem like a great plan. And not only that, once he set the guy on fire, in order to sort of disguise that it was his body double, that doesn't really make any sense either because all the guards are dead. So how would the fire have started? Who started the fire? Did Lalo just decide to start cooking some very delicious food after all his family and friends were dead? And he just burnt himself to a crisp. How would that have happened? Like, who started the fire? Where did the fire come from? Like, that's just, to me, like, I don't know, man. Like, that's just not really that great of a plan. I don't understand how Lalo ever thought that anyone would fall for that, but they did. Actually, Gus did fall for it temporarily. It wasn't until he went to go meet Hector, and Hector shook his hand overselling the sale. If Hector was smart, he should have been yelling and screaming at Gus, so Gus would know that it was obvious that he wasn't trying to play him, reverse psychology, but he just did basic reverse psychology on Gus. And knowing how much of a manipulator and a liar that Gus is, Hector should know that Gus would know that he was lying, and that's exactly what he knew. So that's kind of an L on Hector's part, if I do say so myself. So pretty much Lalo's plan was destined to fail. There was just no way that Gus would not find out that he was alive within like a few moments. But I don't know. I guess he just wanted to buy as much time as possible, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because as long as he hasn't made it back to the border, there's no way that I mean, there's no way that, as long as Lalo hasn't made it back to the border, it doesn't really matter what Gus knows. I guess it doesn't matter how long it takes for Gus to find out, because once Gus finds out, if you haven't made it past the border yet, it doesn't really matter, because Gus is gonna have eyes on the border, like he said in the episode. So I don't know. I don't know about that. And then really didn't really make sense to me. And then another problem that I had was the twins. Now, the twins have always been sort of my biggest dislike of Breaking Bad. I really don't like these guys. They always come off as sort of like super villain type characters. Like they're just so unrealistic, and I understand that that's on purpose, I believe. But at some point they just get so stupid. Like in Breaking Bad, when they were assassinating Hank, when they were responsible for killing Hank, they would have literally killed him if they would have just stayed on task. But instead, they wanted to be cool and shit and say, "Oh no, I can't shoot you. I have to get an X." And that's the only reason why Hank lived, which is fine that Hank lived. I mean, I don't think it was right for Hank to be killed there. I just feel like they could have written that a little better than them just being complete and total fucking idiots. And then the same thing sort of happened here with Nacho. Like they didn't want this guy to shoot at Nacho, because if you shoot at Nacho, then he might get killed. But the thing is, if they had to just let the guy keep shooting Nacho, then Nacho would have had to hide and wouldn't be able to get up to drive the truck, and then they could have gotten to the truck and pulled them out in time or something like that. Like, it's not like the guy was directly shooting Nacho, he was shooting the truck. Like, they all should have just been shooting the truck, shooting the tires out of the truck, so that way Nacho had nowhere to go, no way to escape except on foot. But instead they decide to walk up to him until he finally decides to start driving the truck, and then they decide to start shooting at him. I was like, bruh, like, come on, bruh, like, why are y'all, like, y'all can write this better. Like, I understand you need Nacho to live and you need to make it believable that he gets away, but this was not the way. Like, there was another way to write this, I guarantee, that would have made a lot more sense than this. But for some reason they went with this way, and I was just sitting there scratching my head like, wow, like, this is kind of dumb. I don't know, kind of dumb. Just saying, it's kind of dumb, just a little dumb, just a little silly, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit of that silly goofy shit. But hey, whatever. But other than that, everything else was great. Everything else made sense. All the character decisions made sense. I really liked Mike in this episode. I really like how he stood up to Gus and was like, look, bro, like, you're going to kill Nacho. I get that. I don't want you to kill him, but I understand. He got to go. But you ain't killing his daddy. I don't give a fuck. You are not killing his daddy. And I really, really, really liked that moment. That was a great moment. Didn't see that coming. Can't wait to see what happens with that plot point next episode. Kim and Jimmy, everything that was going on with them, I really liked Kim starting to become more so in charge of Saul, starting to like push buttons, push it his waist, and it's a very different direction for the relationship that I thought was going to happen. I like their little scheme on Howard, but I did think it was kind of dumb for Jimmy to continue his scheme after he had been outed. Once someone noticed that he was there, it was going to be pretty obvious that Howard would be able to find out that he was there, which would lead to him potentially getting caught. So once he was outed, I think he should have just left and they should have tried something else later on. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that was a little risky for him to stay there. Obviously, Howard is going to catch on to them anyway. He's already caught on to them by the end of this episode because the private investigator is following them. But I think that was just a little too stupid, if you ask me, for Saul. He should have known, like, yeah, if everyone already knows that I'm Saul Goodman, I probably should leave because it's a possibility that Howard could find out about this. But that's kind of more of a little bit of a nitpick, I guess you could say, but I still thought it was kind of silly for him to stay at that point. But other than that, yeah, everything else was great. Everything else was excellent. So for the most part, for the most part, everything else was great. Those two things that I gave really aren't like big plot points. They were just more so things that kind of bother me a little bit. But I mean, they're out of the way now. They're not important anymore. So going forward, we'll see what happens. But yeah, the series so far is on a great pace. I can't wait to see where the series goes. If you guys enjoyed the review, let me know. Let me know what you think about the episode and comments. Have a great day. Peace.